Now, every genre has a certain set of expectations which engenders it to an audience, and there's good reason that these cliches and reliable tropes have become so popular in the first place. Nobody wants a rom-com wherein there's no triumphant kiss in the film's closing moments, and nobody wants to see a slasher movie without any masked murderer to slice their way through a set of interchangeable teen victims. But sometimes, subverting audiences' expectations can be as effective as playing into them, and some films break all of the rules of their subgenre so hard that they end up redefining the parameters of what can be achieved within the framework. So let's take a look at them today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 sci-fi horror movies that broke all the rules. Number 10. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Prior to the 70s, between the influence of the censorious Hays Code and the patriotic thought policing of the HUAC, sci-fi movies, like most Hollywood productions, were forced to ensure that their endings were happy and morally unambiguous. This resulted in some surreal scenes like the original 1956 Invasion of the Body Snatchers closing on the bleak image of its protagonist unable to convince the authorities detaining him of the alien threat that was currently and insidiously invading their community. That is until two random blokes stroll in inside the precinct with alien pods in tow to say he's not actually crazy, let's go get these aliens, and the day is saved. Well, the same can't be said in the 1978 remake of the same name, ending on a brutally downbeat note as Donald Sutherland's hero is revealed to have been assimilated by the threat. This quintessentially 70s redo set the tone for the decade's bleaker and darker style of sci-fi horror alongside the more disturbing and hopeless likes of A Clockwork Orange and THX 1138. Number 9. Attack the Block. Released in 2011, British cult filmmaker Joe Cornish's still underrated sci-fi horror Attack the Block was an unexpected hit which actually rewrote the rules of British genre cinema. The flick came at the end of a long string of films from the country which envisioned unsupervised youths as monstrous, amoral murderers, a trend evidenced by everything from 2005's pretentious indie drama The Great Ecstasy of Robert Carmichael to 2008's torture porn horror Eden Lake to 2010's tense thriller F. Starring future Star Wars hero John Boyega as its stoic protagonist, Attack the Block recast these air quotes hoodie villains of these horrors as misunderstood heroes, depicting the challenges of their low-income lives before leading the audience to root for them against a toothy alien menace. Charming, scary, and funny, this flick ensured the less privileged denizens of Britain got their turn to play heroes on screen. Now where's that movement to cast the rich kids as villains some 10 years on, I ask ya? Number 8. Apollo 18. Now listen, just because the films on this list rewrote the rulebook doesn't mean that they're all perfect. Case in point, Apollo 18 was a 2011 effort which brought the found footage format into space for the first time, taking the exploitable, a handful of camcorder-wielding protagonists accidentally documenting their eventual doom format from the likes of the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity and fusing it with alien, space-based, isolated monster horror antics. The film, which follows the titular fictional mission to the moon, sees its stars uncover some alien crab monsters and get offed one by one, standard found footage fashion, but as unremarkable a flick as this one may be, it still marked the first big-budget major studio fusion of found footage horror and space-set sci-fi, so at least it's got that going for it. Number 7. Society. Released to, let's face it, little acclaim in 1990 but revisited as a cult classic ever since, Society was reanimator director Brian Yuzna's seminal sci-fi horror story of a young man who discovers the horrific truth behind his upper-crust adopted family's lifestyle in rather gruesome fashion. The film's central mystery is a slice of fun and offers up impressively uncompromising class-based satire, but technically that had already been established in the sci-fi horror genre ever since Aliens mocked arms manufacturers and RoboCop took aim at the militarization of the US police. But what Society did do to change up the subgenre was stretching the limitations of what practical effects work could achieve into daring, terrifying new places. Pushing past even the earlier innovations of the Thing mastermind Rob Bottin, Screaming Mad George's incredible prosthetic effects work reimagined the scope of special effects shortly before CGI would come in to replace many of its own innovations via paltry, depthless imitations. Number 6. 28 Days Later. Okay, so in abstract, What If Zombies But Quick doesn't exactly sound like the most extraordinary sci-fi horror innovation, but Trainspotting director Danny Boyle's propulsive horror thriller 28 Days Later, based on a script by Ex Machina scribe Alex Garland, went on to redefine the design of The Walking Dead on screen ever since its 2002 release. This tense sci-fi horror reanimated the zombie subgenre through the small but pivotal innovation of speeding up its infamous infamously shambolic villains. This zombie horror turned The Walking Dead into The Running Dead and tripled their potential for terror in the process, resulting in a string of later flicks ranging from the mega-budget blockbuster World War Z to Zack Snyder's 2004 Dawn of the Dead remake, repeating this rather nifty trick. Number 5. Monsters. Despite its title, 2010's Monsters didn't actually have a lot to do with the eponymous beasts, although they did lay waste to a few major cities off-screen. Instead, this indie from future Godzilla helmer Gareth Edwards all but ignored the titular beasts and focused on the small-scale personal drama of two mismatched survivors played to perfection by Whitney Able and Scoot McNairy. As a photographer and his boss's daughter, this pair had chemistry to spare, and by envisioning a monster movie apocalypse through their intimate, limited view of it, Edwards' film upended the cliches of earlier giant monster movies such as the then recent Cloverfield to create a more affecting, evocative image of a world in turmoil. Number 4. Life. Again, as mentioned earlier in this list, not all the movies here are perfect, although this underrated gem is a lot better than the likes of Apollo 18. With a cracking cast including Jake Gyllenhaal and Rebecca Ferguson, 2017's intense alien knockoff Life is blessed with some killer spooky sequences and an inventive monster design in the form of the ever-evolving Calvin. The film may suffer with a pointlessly bleak ending worthy of The Outer Limits, but nonetheless this one elevated itself by breaking one of the cardinal rules of sci-fi horror. Inspired by Alien's daring decision to off John Hurt in its opening sequences, Life audaciously kills off megastar Deadpool actor Ryan Reynolds almost immediately, leaving audiences shaken and uncertain who, if anyone, is safe from this flick. Number 3. Pandorum. Initially looking like just another Aliens clone, 2009's Pandorum didn't win over many viewers and was largely relegated to cult movie obscurity since its release. It's a shame as well, as this twisty flick is an effective two-hander whose action is split between a nervy Ben Foster and an older, wiser Dennis Quaid as the only waking inhabitants of a ship set to bring humankind to a faraway planet in order to begin a repopulation project. Or so it seems. Without any massive spoilers, suffice to say this sci-fi horror soon reveals its human heroes are much more evil than any monster on board, with a barnstorming subversive twist which marks it out as a more thoughtful and interesting film than many other comparable entries into the genre. Number 2. John Carpenter's The Thing. A rare remake which managed to wholly outstrip its original inspiration, Halloween director John Carpenter's 1982 masterpiece The Thing pushed the boundaries of what effects could achieve, whilst its enigmatic ending left viewers not sure who, if anyone, was left to root for. Combining the aforementioned 70s paranoia with the incredible advancements in special effects technology achieved by a then only 23-year-old Rob Bottin, The Thing brought sci-fi horror as a genre into a far darker and more disturbing territory than even the likes of Alien and the Invasion of the Body Snatchers managed to achieve. By the close of Carpenter's horrifically gory cinematic nightmare, there was no unambiguously good characters left to root for, and the audience was left with no clue who to trust, a twist which epitomized the politically charged bleakness and anger that pervaded many of Carpenter's subsequent films, as well as the sci-fi horror genre as a whole. And number 1, Under the Skin. Released in 2014 to critical acclaim and mainstream disinterest, Under the Skin is a rare cinematic effort from birth helmer Jonathan Glazer, and is as frustratingly impossible to categorize in generic terms as the rest of his output. This artsy effort takes the perspective of the alien air-quote monster rather than its human victims, completely rewriting the rules of alien invasion movies by centering the invader as the protagonist through whose eyes the viewer sees the film's world. And it is a brutal world wherein humans are often as evil, if not worse, than this immoral alien, resulting in a sobering slice of sci-fi horror destined to leave viewers wondering about society, culture, gender, and individual responsibility. Not bad for a film that, let's face it, if we're being honest, could be accurately summarized as Scottish Species. And there we go, my friends, those were 10 sci-fi horror movies that broke all the rules. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Instagram at RetroJ, but the O is a 0. Hope to see you over there, and you can come check out all of the Warhammer miniatures that I've been painting in my spare time. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Hope you're treating yourself well with love and respect, my friend, because you deserve all the best things in life, alright? Like love, happiness, and success. And do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise, alright? You're a massive ledge, and I want you to go out there and utterly smash it today. I believe in you. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.